It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
This is the Cosmick Voice. Cosmick Voice. Music, talk, and nothing but business with your hosts, Chris Natalini and Mick Michaels. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Cosmick Voice. This is Season 7, Episode 16. I am here with the one and only worldwide famous Chris Natalini.
What's happening, everybody?
And I am Mick Michaels. Welcome back, everyone, to another show. Chris, world-famous man, how are you?
I am doing world-famous awesome, brother. How are you?
Nice. I'm fantastic. Fantastic.
Good.
What have you been up to, my brother?
Nothing, man. Nothing at all. At the time of recording this, nothing's really going on. We're all kind of getting over the ick because everybody's been sick. Everybody's been kind of staying away from each other, but we're all kind of over that hump, and we'll all be seeing each other music-wise soon. Sooner than later, so which is a good thing. But other than that, man, nothing at all, man. Nothing at all. As you know, we've talked about it on the show. You know, it's kind of getting harder to lay out and do shows. So we're in the process of just getting some new stuff together and, looking for the next release.
I hear you. Let me ask you something. Do you think that this staying away from each other when you're not feeling so hot is a post-COVID thing? Because, back in the day, people would come to work basically coughing up lungs on a gurney just to get their job done. I never really remember missing rehearsals when we were sick. Like, is this the new mentality now, do you think? Is this something?
I do think so. I think that, and, I don't want to get too political here, but I think that because COVID was, or we were made to believe, whatever political stance you stand on, I think that we were made to believe that COVID was this horrendous, horrible, deadly thing, which depends on how you look at it. There were people that, unfortunately got COVID and didn't make it through, and I totally understand that. So I think, because it was a little stronger than the flu that you and I were used to growing up, we have this new thing now because of the things that we were told about it and because of the deaths that were caused from it, whether it was COVID itself or COVID triggered something else, it doesn't matter. People died from it. That's basically what it comes down to. So I think about what I'm doing first, and I'm speaking about me. I have friends that have elderly mothers. I have friends that have small children. I just recently got over being really, really sick for a long time. And there were things that I would think about doing before I would do them because of the people that maybe I'd be around. And, I didn't want to send something home with someone and get their elderly parent sick or grandparent or whatever it was, or, someone that has, their immune system already compromised because of all the unfortunate and disgusting other health things that we are consumed by on a daily basis. Everybody listening to this podcast has or knows someone that unfortunately has the big C word. So, those immune systems are compromised. I'm very cautious when it comes to me being sick, more so than I was 10 years ago. So, yeah, to answer a roundabout way to answer your question, I do. I think that us as a society, because of COVID, I think we take being sick a little more serious than we did before.
I guess I feel the same way. It's definitely something that people have more of a heightened awareness to, especially since we don't use the word cold much anymore. At least I don't hear it as often. Totally get it. You definitely want to have safety first, and for longevity, if you want to keep going. I know we talked about it slightly in the last episode. It's a daily routine to try to stay healthy. It's got to be something that you have to stay on top of.
Yeah.
Whether
Yeah.
or not you feel it's 100% your responsibility or another person's responsibility, I think you still need to be on top of it, right? Because you may be doing everything or think you're doing some, or, I'm doing enough. But then it's kind of like when you're on the road, it may not be you. It may be other drivers may be the problem.
Yeah.
So it's kind of the same idea. So I try to stay consistent in the things that I do. I mean, I don't go overboard, but I think the consistency of it is what helps maintain that balance of your immune system or something like that. Again, these are just personal insights into how we go about things. For an artist, I think to keep your spirits up, you want to keep your health primed, right?
Yeah.
I mean, because nothing's worse than already the music industry is in the tank and then you're not feeling well, whether it's just a seasonal situation or your health starts to deteriorate. And you and I talked about off air several times. It's like, we are reaching that point where it's not uncommon for people our age to come down with something severe, something that may take a little longer, and healing isn't as fast, and we may be more susceptible. And at our age, we're starting to become more accustomed to people checking out for, because of age or because of age-related things or other things. Sometimes when you're in your 20s and early 30s, the people around you may not be, unless all you're hanging out with is people at the old folks' home, then I understand you're used to it. But for the most part, it's always an oddity when a young person goes, especially unexpected.
Yeah.
Right? But at our age, and it's not that we're that old either, but it seems that scale has dropped. I'm surprised at what I'm hearing for people our age. Like, wow, shouldn't they be older for that or something like that?
Yeah.
Well, things are changing, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, man.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, true.
But it is kind of
telling
crazy. Yeah. So I think being healthy, especially for an artist, for anybody, is key. Like, I mean, life would be miserable if you were constantly, I couldn't imagine. And I feel for those people that do. So those that have the opportunity, just try to do the best you can.
It's Russ the Boss.
Take it down.
Johnny D from Britney Fox.
This is Stephen Pearcy from Rat, the Rat Bastard. You're listening to the Cosmick Voice.
During COVID, people were doing that online rehearsing with one another. I know we did. It was totally a nightmare. There was lag. The timing never seemed to work, and the energy wasn't there. But we tried. We tried a host of times, different platforms. Nothing ever seemed to work. Have you ever tried that?
We did not, and we probably didn't because you had already told me it was awful, if I remember correctly. But no, I think there was like a few weeks where we didn't get together because, we weren't sure what was happening. And at the time, my drummer had 2 very young children, and it just was an uneasy, weird time because we weren't sure what we as human beings on the planet were dealing with. As time went on, we did end up just rehearsing, and we wore masks. And for the people that didn't want to wear masks, they didn't have to. And we were lucky enough to have a big enough rehearsal spot at the time where we were all kind of distanced from each other. And, I wore a mask to rehearsal, but sang kind of farther away from everybody. So we were able to kind of figure it out and do the best we could and keep moving forward. And that was a couple weeks kind of into COVID, because like I said, when the whole thing started, nobody really knew what we were dealing with.
No.
And we were all a little, everybody's a little worried. Again, everybody's got elderly parents and kids, and so we weren't too sure. But once time went on and we said, let's give it a shot and see. And it worked. And we just kind of continued moving forward. But we all did the proper things, at the time, masks up and distance and, stuff like that. People who were comfortable with it were there with masks on. And the people who didn't really have a worry about it, then they didn't have masks on. So, yeah, we did our thing. We did what we could. But I think it was because of you guys, if I remember correctly, because when you said that, I do remember you telling me that night. It wouldn't work. Like, we're not the Circle or Metallica. Like,
you've seen people on social media and they were doing it. I'm like, how are these guys doing it? But what I wound up doing during that time was I started doing more file sharing within the band. So we had created a lot of that. So people were practicing on their own.
Yeah.
But we were all practicing to the same bass tracks in a sense, so that we were at least staying consistent. And I still have stuff up on our Dropbox accounts, so that people can go back if they need to. Like, there's a whole folder that contains everything that we do live with no vocals, so that Frankie can just sing along with them on his own. And we have stuff so that the bass can do, so on and so forth. So that really kept us kind of in the groove, and we carried it over. We're still doing that now.
Yeah, us too.
You know what I mean? And as we talked about, these times now, things as people get older and we've made lineup changes, schedules are increasingly more difficult for everybody to get together on the consistent basis that we did in the past. So we still do a lot of the file sharing. If I have some new material, I put it up. I say, hey, check this out. Maybe you can start working, especially even new material. Here you go. We can collaborate, I guess, within that file that they can send me files back and all. And I know that's something that's been going on for a long time. However, it's something that we implemented during COVID, but we've carried it over and kept it going. We kept it going. I mean, we still do live rehearsals, don't get me wrong.
Yeah, of course.
But
of course.
This keeps in the in-between times. And actually, I found that we can become a little bit more productive on things that, okay, listen, this rehearsal, we need to cover this, but if you can, on your own time, work on this, it seems to be a plus. Keeps everybody at least active, engaged, responsible for their time.
When you walk into rehearsal, everybody, may not be 100%, but everybody knows the material. You know what I mean? And then it's easier to kind of, get through it when you've already been at home rehearsing it. And
exactly.
I'm a big proponent for that, yeah.
You want everybody on the same page, right? I mean, it just...
Well, yeah, of course.
Because that'll carry over when you're on stage. I mean, of course, because I've been on stage and I've witnessed bands on stage that you can tell they are definitely not on the same page, let alone the same stage.
Right.
But... Here's an interesting fact for those of you who are still trying to make a career out of this craziness. With the 60-plus thousand uploads a day on Spotify, which kind of adds up to over 1 million, 1.8 million or something a month or something like that, at 33 cents, I guess, a stream, basically that's how it breaks down to. You do 1 million streams, and you would think, oh my God, 1 million streams. People are digging me, man. I am on my way. But the payout for that is about $3,300. Now, some people are going to say, oh my God, $3,300. I'll take it. But you can't make a living out of that, can you?
Nope.
You'd have to stream a decent living, I guess, with everything else that's going on. I guess if you streamed 1 million a month consistently, so now you got, let's just say 3 times, that's only 36,000, maybe 39,000 a year. Again, some people would, hey, that's not bad at all. Well, that would be bad if it was 1992 and you're a family of 4. If you're a single person, yeah, maybe. But man, at 40 grand, you're still not living.
Yeah.
You're not owning a house.
Yeah.
You're probably driving an older vehicle with the cell phone and everything else. You're probably not going out as often as you think. Not to say that that's an important thing of life, but so, I mean, to really make a decent living, you'd have to stream 2-3 million a month at that rate. Already the numbers are past my, now again, if you're pushing $9,000 a month, we're just throwing numbers based on like, hey, this is whatever. And then you multiply that by 12. Now you're pushing close to the 100,000 mark. Well, yeah, for a single person, that'd be great. Maybe for a couple, not bad. If you have kids, it's going to be a little harder.
Yep.
But I mean, think about that. You have to constantly work that machine because as soon as that 1 million streams stop, well, all of a sudden your lifestyle completely changes, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, man. It is unbelievable how this whole thing is just operating.
It's disheartening when you look at it like that. And you're wondering why people aren't achieving their dream. And if the dream is, as we talked about right before we went on air, let's just use the term, making it. And it's not just the sitcom. Because for people that use that term, at least from our day, there was a lot of understanding of what that meant, where that took you. And today, I don't know if it's used as often, but when it is, I don't think it's the same context.
Right.
At least in my opinion. But it's also a fairy tale statement because that idea of making it doesn't exist anymore like the definition that you and I have.
Right. Right.
So it definitely gets confusing. It definitely gets confusing. I mean, you think about it. I'll give you an example. Producers in the 80s that worked on like a big name record, they would get their points of maybe like $1 a record. Well, people go, well, it's 33 cents compared to $1. Well, yeah, but that dollar, if 1 million units were sold, you got $1 million.
Yeah.
And in 86, $1 million went pretty far. If you invested that during the Reaganomics era, you'd probably bring home, like you'd make about $60,000 a year in interest. And again, in 86, $60,000 a year, you was living large there, Tubbs. So you see what I'm trying to say, right? I mean, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yep.
Where as soon as those million streams stop, well, your 33 cents is gone.
Yeah.
Back then you were talking dollars, now you're talking cents.
Yep.
And let me tell you something, brother. I haven't been talking cents in years.
It's funny you brought this up because I literally was listening to Sirius Radio last night. Me and my wife were coming home from somewhere and we had it on, and Tommy London was talking about, I think we were listening to Classic Rewind, and small plug for Tommy London.
Tommy London, you know what I mean? Tommy London.
Yeah. He was talking about...
We love you, Tommy. Listen, if you're listening to the show, which is a plus, we're just having fun.
Yeah. He played Foreigner's I Want to Know What Love Is. And he was saying that it's one of the top songs streamed on Spotify. And I don't even remember the number, but it was ridiculous. But he said it was one of the top ones. And what he did was he broke it down, you know, and I don't know how correct he was. He was just kind of running through numbers. And basically what he was saying was, for the amount of streams that song has, it literally equals nothing to getting it. I guess he was trying to tell people, like, listen, you know, this is what's going on with Spotify, and this is how, you know, if you think just because this song had this many streams, if you think that artists are raking in big bucks, you're not, because then he broke it down, and I don't remember the exact number, but I was like, it's ridiculous to me.
It is ridiculous by today's standards. But on the flip side, that song already made its mint back in the day when it could make its mint.
Well, yes, of course.
You know what I mean?
Of course,
so just so that people understand, yes, that song's not probably raking in the same amount per unit as it did back then.
But for the number of streams.
For the number of streams,
if
you took those streams and you put those into rotations back in, when that song come out, 83, 84?
Yeah,
something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, or units sold. Oh, my God. Even if it was just a 45? Oh, come on. Yeah. You could see it doesn't even compare.
No, not at all.
Because once those things are sold, they're sold. You know what I mean? That's it. And you were given... what's the point of talking about it? I mean, everybody talks about it. Everybody says the same thing, but nothing's changing. Nobody's changing anything.
We said this the last show. Like, you would have to have your major players pull their music. That's the
right,
only
but they
way
don't
this
care
is change.
Because half of them are selling out their catalogs anyway because they'll make more money that way. They know it. They already know because one, they already made their money. Two, they can afford to do that. But the inside track, they already know. The ones that already made it know or knew that digital streaming was not going to be their cash cow in any way, shape, or form.
Right. Yeah, that's the only way it's going to change. You're going to have your major players pull together and pull...
Your current major players.
It's what I'm saying, yeah. The current major players, are going to have to get together and go, listen, we're going to do this to save this part of the industry. But like you said, it's not going to happen because your major players are not going to... They've already, like you said, they've already paid for the song. Or they just don't... I don't want to say they don't care because money's money. Everybody cares about money, but it's just not top of their list. Like, I'm sure.
Listen, there are some people that go, well, I got my share. I don't care about anybody else.
Well, that's 100%.
Do you know what I mean? There's always that mentality, too. Like, I already did my stuff. You guys fend and fight it out amongst yourselves, that kind of thing.
Right.
It's a crazy business. You know, like we talked about this. I don't know if it was last season or season before, but like the thing was just like, oh, I'm on Spotify. It's amazing. Like when iTunes opened that up back in 2012 or 2012, whenever it was, that all of a sudden independent artists could get a song on for $10 for a year or something like that. And people were like, oh, I'm on, here I am, all that kind of stuff. But what we didn't realize is nobody could find you unless they had the link exactly to you, you know?
Yeah.
And it was crazy. And if you remember... in the iTunes times, like sometimes you'd have the same song, like 5 different uploads of it.
Yeah.
I never could understand that. Like, and it was from different people. I think they've eliminated all that now. None of that stuff even exists. Like, it's one, what are they called? The SRC numbers or the ISRC number? I can't remember.
I know what you mean.
Yeah, the
I'm
numbers
not really
that
sure,
are
but I know
tagged
what
to
you
your
mean, yeah.
digital thing, like, say, on
Yeah,
Spotify.
yeah.
If that's moved from whoever, like, say, from band to label back to this and that, that number stays with them. So that at least the streams stay with them. Unless it's taken down completely and a whole new track is put up. Type of thing, right? Then a new number is assigned to it, and then you're starting from scratch anyway. So I'm not even sure any of that makes sense to me. But, I guess that's part of it. I'm probably not even explaining it correctly. But, that's what I'm saying. It's too complicated. It should be, I write music, I record music, I release music. Somebody buys or listens to my music, I should get paid for that. In whatever capacity. If someone buys my music, I should get paid for that. And in a sense, those subscription fees, as minute as they are, and then when you break them down amongst the, let's just say, thousands of tracks a subscriber would listen to a year, I mean, in essence, I still should be paid for when someone listens to my stuff, whether it's part of a bundle package or not. And now we don't make the amount of streams, so we don't get paid. Or when we do get paid, it's so little, it doesn't even make sense. All of your effort is worth 33 cents. And here's the funny thing. If you go onto other platforms in different countries that have those similar platforms, the money's different anyway. Sometimes it's 5 cents. Sometimes it's 3 cents. Sometimes it's like a half a penny. Whatever that is. Aren't we supposed to get rid of the penny? It costs 3.2 cents to make the 1 cent penny? I don't know. Or is that lies, like season 12 of The X-Files? I don't know. This is what baffles me at night. Just give me my half a penny. Can somebody please go get some snips and just kind of give me my half a penny, please?
Give your half a penny. That's right.
Give my half a penny. But then what do? I got all these half a cut pennies. I can't even put them together. I can't do anything with them. I can't even melt them down and sell them to the scrapyard with the copper because they're not even really copper. You see, we just can't win. It's a never-ending cycle.
It's a never-ending cycle. That's right.
Anyway, let's get to the topic of the show.
Yes.
So, the topic of the show is, are metal fans too critical? Chris, are metal fans too critical when it comes to, let's say, everything? What do you think, buddy?
Yes. Thank you. Good night. Have a great show.
Good night.
Thanks for listening.
Tune in for episode 17.
Yes. Okay, here's a couple things. I think, first of all, right off the bat is, to answer your question, yes, we are very critical. I think that, one, social media, and I know you and I have talked about social media, and I know you hear it all the time from different places. I think social media, and we are all on it, and I get it, because I could sit here and complain about it, and people would say the same thing, well, you're on it. I think social media, whether it be Facebook, Instagram, X, whatever you're on, is so full of horrid people that just have to bring other people down. God forbid if somebody likes something that you don't like or that doesn't fit into your opinion. And I'm not talking about the political climate. I'm talking about music in general. And this is a perfect example. I'll give you a little perfect example. So when my band got asked to open up for Venom Inc., maybe for those of you who aren't familiar with Venom Inc., Venom back in the late 70s, early 80s was a heavy metal band. They were 3-piece. They were from overseas, and they were amazing and still continue to be amazing. But they were amazing back then. They influenced a lot of metal bands that are out there today, at least a lot of your older metal, Metallica being one of them. So as time has gone on, there's always member changes as fate has it. So there was a time where Venom was together. They had a falling out. I guess they reunited. I'm not really sure the timeline. They had a falling out. They split. So one band became Venom. The other band became Venom Inc. Now, Venom Inc. had one original member from the original Venom. He split off from the other two, became Venom Inc. Fast forward a number of years, Venom Inc. has recorded 2 records. And so they just fast forward a little more. They were planning on a small little U.S. run, and my band got asked to open for them. So when they announced the American run, people were excited because the original member was going to be, his name is Mantis. He was going to be with the band. Come to find out that he put out a press release, he wasn't doing it. Again, listen, 2 years prior to announcing the American release, we all know he hadn't been playing with the band that often because he unfortunately had 2 heart attacks, and his wife, unfortunately, she was diagnosed with cancer. And, you know, mind you, up to 2025, he wasn't even playing with the band that often. So he came out and said, I'm not doing the American dates because of, you know, there's stuff I need to take care of, which totally agree with. On top of his health concerns, of course, you know, your wife being that sick with that C word that everybody hates. Of course, she would want to be home, of course. Well, the metal community lost their ever-loving minds. They were like, well, this isn't Venom, and man, this isn't coming, and like so much to the point where the owner of the club contacted me and he was almost a little concerned, like, what do you think? Like, he was afraid that the show was going to fail because all these people were coming out going, oh, man, like, if he's not there, it's not Venom Inc., and blah, blah, blah. And I told the owner of the club, I'm like, don't worry about it. These are a small portion of people that care. Because Venom Inc. put out 2 albums with the current bass player and current singer. So it wasn't like it's a complete sham because the guy that sang, wrote, and played on the 2 Venom Inc. records, he's in the band. It's still him. Well, this whole thing of, you know, not an original member, it's not the band. Because I even told the owner of the club, I said, listen, there isn't many bands out there that has any original members in it. You know, there is a festival called M3 in Baltimore every year that has all these 80s hair metal, glam metal, whatever you want to put them at. They play every year. Every band that plays on that is basically not one original member. Sometimes there may be one original member. Nobody really, really cares. So my thing is, again, you have this small portion of metalheads that think that just because of this situation or, you know, whatever situation it is, that it's wrong. Like, oh, you know, I'm not going to this. Well, then don't go. That's fine. You don't want to go, don't go. It's okay. If that's what you believe, that's fine. But don't put down the current members of Venom Inc. or any band for that matter because they're not the original. There is no originals anymore. It's not the way this industry works anymore, whether it be metal, whether it be rock, whether it be country. Like, if there is a group of people, there isn't that many original members in it anymore. And obviously it doesn't really matter that much because people still go and see them. And guess what? That Venom Inc. show had a really, really nice crowd. So people don't really care. And the people online are just spewing hate that makes no sense to me. If you don't like it, don't go. I mean, that's as simple as that. Metalheads are, and listen, not all metalheads, but a small portion of these people that live online that think that they are the kings of the metal community. It's not real life. It's just not. And it's the same people that think that, I'm just going to say it, it's the same people that think that Slayer should be doing the Super Bowl. No, Facebook is not reality. It's not. And these people just spew this hatred that just doesn't make sense to me. And they're so critical. They instantly have to put out hate. No matter what you see, anytime Blabbermouth or Metal Injection or any of those dumb TMZ metal websites that put out that clickbait crap that goes on Facebook, you could just open up the comments and you see all these knuckleheads just talking smack. And it just makes, like, I could talk smack too, but in my talking smack, at the end I go, hey, listen, they're doing their thing. What do I know? That's the reality of the situation. Some of these people just want to spew that hate for whatever reason, because they're keyboard warriors that sit back and think that everything they think of is right. It really is sad to me. It's almost as sad as watching the documentary Heavy Metal Parking Lot and looking at all these Wayne's World people in the parking lots and you're going, my God, this doesn't represent what we are, metalheads. And it's not. I feel that some of the people online just do not represent our community as a whole. I mean, they just don't. I mean, everybody could be critical of, hey, this isn't what I like. Hey, this doesn't, this album isn't as good as this record. And that's more personal preference than it is being critical. But when you're critical of things that don't make sense to me, that's what irritates me the most, i.e., when you're trashing a band because there's no original members, but yet there's how many bands out there that are touring that don't have one original member in it? You know, it's amazing to me. It's amazing to me.
It is. And it is sad. And I agree with you. Well, I think not just metal fans, but I think music fans in general have become so overly critical about everything.
Yes.
You're going to have the same group of people complain that someone's using backing tracks and then turn around and go, man, they just sound horrible and they should hang it up. And this, like, listen, maybe there's some truth in some of that, but who are you to tell other people they should hang it up? Maybe you should hang it up.
Right.
Like if you went into work one day and you just had a bad day and somebody goes, dude, you should hang this up. Oh, hell would break loose, and I'm sure you'd then have to contact the lawyer.
Yeah.
Like you said, people are applying these fantasy type notions to what they think is real life, and they wouldn't do that in real life. You can't be talking smack to someone who's out there putting themselves, their art or their talent on the line for other people just to do whatever they want. I mean, there has to be some level of respect. I think that's where it comes down to. I don't think that there's levels of respect. Maybe there never was, but because of these outlets, now everybody just feels that they have a forum. And like you had mentioned earlier, everyone feels that whatever they have to say is the most important. I just say what's on my mind. You know, I just tell it like it is. You know, I'm a realist. You have all this justification. So what's your justification for being a ill-mannered a-hole or an ignoramus or maybe uneducated in your approach, or maybe you just have no idea? You're just ignorant. You're just ignorant of the fact that unless you're walked in somebody's shoes, what are you talking about? Now, again, is some of that stuff real? I mean, like, you know, I'm not a big fan of backing tracks, but I've been to plenty of shows. And if you're honest with yourself, even if you love the artist, if you're honest with yourself, you and I are used to being on stage and used to being in a live setting. There is a huge difference, if you're really paying attention, between when someone's really doing it and when that backing track sets in.
Yeah.
You can definitely tell. There's just a sound difference. It's a tonal difference in your ear. You can feel it in your chest. It's slightly different, no matter how loud it is. You accept it. What are you going to do? Anything you do isn't going to change anything.
That's right.
Does it affect you at the end of the day? If you're letting it affect you to that point where your whole life is disrupted, you have problems. And your problem isn't that there isn't any original members in the band or that they should hang it up because of backing tracks. You need to go seek some other professional help, in my opinion. And not to cut you off, but the biggest case in point that this holds true, whether you consider it metal or not, it's just music, is the last 25 years Kiss has been on the chopping block.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, yeah.
Everybody keeps talking about, oh, Paul and Gene are no good and this and that and the other thing. Hey, listen, man, after those contracts in the 80s ran out, I guess it was right after Animalized, their contracts shifted with the bands. That means Peter and Ace didn't need to be paid anymore. They were paid up until those albums. They were still making money. That's why they didn't do anything.
Right.
But after those contracts were renegotiated and new things were being put on the board, an offer was placed to those two guys to sell their rights to the makeup. And guess what? They did it. Yep. How's that Gene and Paul's fault? They just did good business. Anybody would have done it. People buy up their competition. Movie companies buy thousands of scripts every year, not to produce them, to eliminate them from the producing pool so someone else does it.
Yeah.
They did smart business. And when they were brought back and the opportunity to put the makeup back on, take the tour out, well, everything was licensed. Those guys were paid. However it panned out, they had already been out of the band. Everybody thinks that if you leave something and come back, it's still yours. Well, it doesn't happen like that, my prodigal son. Not in the real world. I'm sorry to tell you. You walk away from your house and stop paying the mortgage, and that gets passed on, and then you go back. Not like you're going to be able to, but you don't own the house anymore. You leave your job and come back, it's not the same. Your seniority, you lost it.
Listen, man, here's the thing, too, right? As bad as... Now, I used to be, when I was younger, I was a huge Motley Crue fan. I have my issues with Motley Crue. Doesn't matter. When they came out and they were getting back together, everybody talked about how bad Vince Neil is, and it's not, you know, it's not a lie. He's horrendous. And then it came out, they're using backing tracks and this whole thing. Well, guess what? All these people that complain online, yeah, they sold out just about every stadium in the last 2 tours or however many they've done in the past couple years with Mick Mars and then with John 5. Selling out. Do you think Motley Crue cares about your little post on Facebook that you think Vince Neil sounds bad? Okay. Do you think they care about the thousands of people that say Vince Neil sounds bad? No, they don't, because guess what? They just did 2 summers of sold out tours. It doesn't matter. They don't care what your opinion is. They don't. It's not going to make a difference. Same thing, like you were talking about Kiss. I was thinking the same thing. I'm not a big backing track guy. Not a fan of it. I'm sure it's been done. Yes, we've been down that road. Paul Stanley, hasn't been sounding that great. Could there be an argument with 2 guys in makeup if you really wanted to take outside of the contract negotiations? Sure. Did I want to miss their last tour? No, didn't want to miss it. And you know what? We went and we had a great time. And we got to say we saw Kiss on the last few nights of their tour. Like, my personal opinion, I don't care about the makeup of 2 other guys in makeups. I understand the argument of that. To me, doesn't matter. If the 2 guys can't get it together that should be in that makeup, that's not anybody's fault but theirs. Paul, was his voice not as good as it used to be? Yeah, I mean, it's not, but he's also an older guy. So, whatever. It is what it is. Was that show amazing? Yeah. Was it awesome? Yeah. Was I glad I went? Absolutely. So my opinions don't mean anything to anybody but me. So why spew it? Why not support people? If you don't like it, don't go. Or if you don't like it, why comment? That doesn't make any sense to me. It's like the Nickelback thing. Listen, if you don't like Nickelback because you don't like that kind of music, that's fine. But you can't say they suck. No. You can't say that they're not talented musicians. Because guess what? If you really, really open your mind, unless you don't like that kind of music, then that's okay. But tell me why you don't like Nickelback. Tell me why. And your only thing should be, I'm not into that kind of music. Okay, then I get it.
But it stops at that.
It stops at that. But to trash them because, their lyrics are cheesy or because they're this or that makes no sense to me. That's why I will never put down another musician, no matter what kind of music you do. Because if you have the guyans to get up there and do it and to create, then I cannot say anything bad about you. The only thing I can say is I'm not a fan of you, but I respect what you do. That's the honest to God's truth. Yes, music people are definitely very critical. I think metal fans take that above and beyond what it has to be. And I love being a metalhead. I would wave that metalhead flag. If I had a metalhead flag outside of my lawn, I'd be super proud of it. But at some point, we got to take it back a notch and just let bands and artists do what they're going to do. And if you don't like it, then don't go. And that's okay. To throw your opinion online, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to anybody. Nobody cares what your opinion is, honestly. You want to sit around and talk about your friends. Me and my buddies do it all the time. We'll sit and we'll talk about bands and decisions they make. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to post online. If I like that band or artist, then I should just support that band or artist. I'm not going to trash them because there's no original members. That's just dumb.
You are listening to the Cosmick Voice with your hosts, Chris Natalini and Mick Michaels.
Again, with the topic, are metal fans too critical? I absolutely agree to that. The genre thing, the genre-specific spewing has been unbelievable the last few years. Like, people will not even listen to another genre or think that because of not being in that genre. And, what's funny is and that genre didn't exist 3 years ago, 10 years ago. It was just one umbrella. And I think that's what made the 80s in a sense for metal, because you could be listening to Poison and Anthrax and Metallica and Testament and like Def Leppard and go to a Bon Jovi concert, be into Queensryche and still like Motorhead, because I remember all of that.
Yeah.
And seeing all of that. There was no distinction. Yeah, there was, this is definitely heavier. There was that distinction. There was, the obvious. There was the obvious that was hitting you in the face. But at the same time, like we talked about in another episode, these guys were all hanging with each other anyway. They were all making their bones, doing whatever they could. Nowadays, it almost seems like even some of the musicians themselves have created such separation.
Yeah, there's such tribalism for sure.
Everybody wants to have their community and feel special and all, but when I was in Europe when we were playing, that I had noticed immediately was that they were very opinionated, but they had an openness to a variety of music, all kinds. Blues, very big in Europe. In Germany, country, very big in Germany. You wouldn't have thought, but it is. Metal, all different kinds of metal. You know, what would be considered cheesy here, listen, Man of War, great band, but never seemed to strike the same chord here in the U.S. A lot of people would consider them kind of cheese metal.
Yeah, for sure.
Huge in Europe, right? They look at it like, you know.
Huge in Europe.
So it's just this different acceptance. Yeah, you can talk about it, but I don't see it being the same like here. It's just everybody has something to say about something. And like you said, most of these artists, especially at that higher echelon, if they cared, they would have stopped.
That's right.
Right? I mean, I know Vince Neil has caught a lot of flack over the last few years about his weight and stuff like that. Definitely ain't the Vince Neil from, you know, Looks to Kill video, but people are still going. And what you're seeing online sometimes, like, is the same thing being reposted over and over again. People like to knock other people down because it's easy to do. And for some reason, it's a quick pick-me-up, short-lived, for their own ego until they have to come up with something else and something else and something else. And oftentimes, you'll see that it's people that don't even play or write music, but they're experts at it.
Yes.
Like, really?
Yes.
You are? Do you know what it's like to even put yourself up on stage and take a shot? Come on. And what really saddens me is when you're getting other musicians doing it. That bums me out, especially guys down at our level, the indie into trench. It's like, guys, we're all in the same thing. I mean, I told the story. I used to do music reviews for a well-known outfit, and I just couldn't get myself to write negative stuff because I understood where some of these people were coming from in terms of this is an art form. Sometimes you're trying something different, you're experimenting, you have this inner growth that sometimes people don't want to hear. But as an artist, you have this need to do that. And I was told by the top brass, listen, you got to have a little negativity here and there to get people to say I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it, and I wound up, resigning from that position because it just didn't feel good for me.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
Like,
it doesn't make sense.
On my blog, I try to keep it upbeat in terms of I don't talk the negative that often. I mean, I'll bring up topics, but then try to get the spin on it. Like, how are you overcoming this particular sentiment that's happening or something like that? Even in the little forward that I have, I talk about I'm trying to bring some positivity back. Like, I want to know about the person who made the artist. Not necessarily like, oh, you got another record coming out, you know, who'd you work with, you know, what produced, you know. I mean, listen, that's cool and all, I get it. There's some important stuff there. But let's talk more emotion, spirituality of it, the mentality of it. How are you achieving this, and how can we learn from you? That type of thing. That's what I try to do. Listen, I'm not saying that I'm immune. There's plenty of things I don't like. I mean, absolutely. But I don't find a need, especially to get online and start typing away at it. I just never understood that. It's like when an injustice happens to somebody you don't know, it seems the sentiment or the model is go down to your nearest city and break into stores for a television set. Set the world on fire, baby, because somebody I don't know and who isn't paying my bills and never will had an injustice to him.
Yeah.
A moment of silence to try to figure that one out.
It's true, bro. And here's the thing, too, right? Like, instead of coming down on someone because they like something, you should just ask, hey, why do you like that? Like, why do you like that artist? Why do you like that kind of music? Or what don't you like about that kind of music? I'd be totally okay with if I would never do this, but if I posted something online and was like, oh my God, I can't believe they're doing this. And somebody reach out and go, well, why? Like, why don't you like them or this or whatever? And I go, well, this is why. And you go, well, okay. Because again, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Perfect example, right? We just had the Super Bowl at the time of recording this. What did you see on Facebook during the Super Bowl? Everybody bashing halftime Kendrick Lamar. He was brilliant in what he did. He was good for what he did. It's not made for us. We're not the demographic that they're shooting for. Why put it down? Doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to me.
His performance in what he does, he knows what he's doing. He did it.
That's right.
He put on
That's right.
the show that he wanted. I don't understand the decision. I think that when they get so this is my personal opinion, just on a business end, thinking about it, because the demographic that's watching at home is an older demographic for the most part.
But,
like statistics show.
But they're trying to just bring in that younger demographic.
They're trying.
Because that older demographic's eventually going to die.
They're going to die out, you're right, but they are the ones that are primarily watching the whole thing from start to finish. I do think that maybe they need to broaden their horizons in a sense to gain a bigger, but that's just business. But then again, maybe I don't understand the model.
Right.
That are they trying to gain long-term viewership by reaching into that 16 to 28-year-old demographic? I don't know. Given the statistics today, that 16 to 28-year-old demographic is still living at home, living off of their parents, who are that demographic that they're not adjusting to and that feel they're dying out. So I don't understand that. You cannot take away from that gentleman's talent and ability to do what he did. Is it your cup of tea? Yes or no? I don't know. For some, apparently it wasn't. But it is what it is.
The whole hatred, to me, we've always had that. There's always been that separation of, metalheads have always had this separation of, certain kinds of music, and which I get, but I just don't understand. Especially in 2025 when, there's this big thing now in 2025 because everybody's a little more open-minded and everybody's talking about positivity and love, and, there shouldn't be...
They talk about
you don't
it.
like just because you don't like a form of music doesn't mean you should bash it.
Exactly.
Because obviously it's just, hey, listen, Mr. Musician or Miss Musician, you're sitting home on the couch watching the Super Bowl, and guess who's on the Super Bowl halftime show? Well, you want to do something about it, then change it. Figure it out. Write better songs, write better music, do better things with your art. Instead of sitting home bashing it, try to make the change.
That's it. Get your streams up, make the money, and pay $10 million to be on.
That's right. That's right.
What do you think, bud? You got anything else you want to add?
I think that metalheads are critical. I think we've always been critical. There's definitely a form of tribalism in our community that needs to stop. Again, I think it's more of a social media thing than anything, to be completely honest.
Yes, I definitely feel that it has grown in its numbers over the last 15, 20 years. I don't think it was always that way, but I'd say with the growth of the internet, it probably has excelled itself to a staggering proportion right now. Look for the similarities and forget about the differences. If you like that episode, check out some of our other episodes at www.thecosmickvoice.com. Step into the Cosmickverse and fill that void. Thanks so much for listening. This is the Cosmick Voice. If you have a question, a topic idea, or something you want us to address, just contact us through our Facebook page at The Cosmick Voice. You can listen to The Cosmick Voice at Spotify, Breaker, Apple, Google Podcasts, Radio Public, Pocket Cast, and at thecosmicview.com. Check us out on Facebook at The Cosmick Voice.
All right, folks, that's going to do it for us. If you're hearing this message, you've listened to the entire episode. And for that, Mick and I would like to thank you from the bottom of our hearts. And we hope you enjoyed this new episode. And if you did, please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Also, feel free to let us know what topics you'd like to see covered in future episodes of The Cosmick Voice. And you can get in touch with us through thecosmickvoice.com and, of course, all of the Cosmick Voice social medias. Take care and be safe.
You're listening to The Cosmick Voice. Music, talk, and nothing but business.